Welcome back to the Culture of Currency for another market report. Here we have the Wall Street Journal, and we like to look at your metal and monies. What a crazy week. We say it every single week. This is no different. As we know that the U.S. stocks surged to fresh records after Jerome Powell suggested that there was a rate cut by the Federal Reserve Board, which obviously boosted quite a bit in the investor sentiment. And at the same time, we saw major tech and AI focused stocks showing some pretty significant signs of vulnerability. So when we get to the market report, you'll see what that looks like in a chart form. But before we get there, I wanted to remind you that we are sponsored, yes, of course, by APMEX, the American Precious Metals Exchange. And you do need to know a couple things about APMEX. They're the place that I go when I buy my metals. To me, that's the easy choice to make, because as a collector, I always want to find cool, unique products that I don't have in my collection that I can then add to. So APMEX is the place that I like to look. And you need to know this as well, that we're on the countdown to Black Friday, where APMEX will be offering some at-spot offers every day, Monday through Thursday. That all leads up to Black Friday, of course, the marathon that is the Black Friday shopping. And the cool part is, being APMEX is huge online, they all also have some Cyber Monday incentives. So make sure you check them out. Every single year, this is when I buy some silver. So I like to wait for this week because there's always some cool things, some cool deals to be had from APMEX at this time. So now that we have talked about APMEX a little bit, and hoping that you go out and buy some cool metals, and let me know in the comments what you find, as I always bring you my goodies. Let's get to the market. Here we go, folks. And yes, the red ink does not lie. There is a lot of movement happening here. As you can see, Dow Jones 46,245. That's up 493 points. Mostly thank you, as we talked about, to Jerome Powell. 1% gained here, but still not quite back at our all-time high, about 2,000 short. And you can see what that looks like. We had the giant dip. NVIDIA, all these tech companies, AI companies, took a hit. Jerome Powell brought a bit of it back here on these last trading days. So that is where we stand. S&P 500, 6602, up 64 points, or almost a full percent as well. Still not quite at the all-time high, about a month away, because that was the 28th, right there by Halloween. NASDAQ, we have 22273. That's almost 200 points upward. Once again, almost a full percent. And we can see all of the roller coaster that is playing out right there. And once again, all-time high for the NASDAQ sits right around the Halloween time. So the closest all-time highs here, Dow Jones at the 12th of November. Will we see some movement here shortly? I don't know. Things are pretty crazy right now. But they're not just crazy here, folks. Let's go over to the international world. Canada, they're hanging on right here. They've got 0.93, almost a full percentage point in the black for this week. Mexico doing all right as well. We like to see that. Almost 0.6%. Now, everyone else is not doing so hot. Eurozone right here, down almost 0.75%. Denmark, I don't know exactly how far into the basement they are, but it seems like this whole year they've just been underwater, and this is no exception. They're sitting there at negative 1.39 on the week. Yes, it says right here, year to date, they're at 28% negative. I don't understand what they're doing there, but they are, I believe, in the EU, which means if that is true, then they're likely to have what Greece had years ago, where all of these nations that are connected with the EU will bail out Denmark. Germany sitting down almost a full percentage. We have Norway almost 1.3 right there. South Africa 2% down there. We've got Spain also down 1%. Switzerland's in the positive, almost 0.75%, and Turkey is down 0.5%. Now the Asia Pacific, I just went ahead and put a bracket because everybody's tanking there, and we do know that that is very tech heavy, especially South Korea, who sits at almost 4% down. Their market is very, very much in the vein of technology, and so is Japan, and both of those took a decent hit. But if you look at South Korea's year to date, and they're at 60% positive, so I think they're going to be okay. But that's where we are there for all of those. But I did notice that the US dollar also did fairly well this week, and maybe that's Jerome Powell. I really don't know, but we'll get into all of that as we look at our charts, our metals, to see exactly where everything stands. All right, so we're starting with silver, of course. Silver, $50.26 on the week, so it lost roughly a $0.50 or 1% of its value this week. And when we look at what it did versus the US dollar absolutely won. We don't say it often, folks, but they are up, roughly 0.7% there. And we've already talked about the Dow Jones and the S&P being up roughly 8%. So that being said, it looks like the markets are in first place and the US dollar is in second place and silver is in third place. Now, what about gold? Gold closes at $4,078, so they're also right around 1 percentage point, which means, of course, that the markets are the winners. The US dollar for this week only has beat gold and silver just on a week-to-week basis. But that's okay, because when we look at our year-to-dates, as we like to do on gold, the year-to-date is still sitting there at 54%. And for silver, the year-to-date is sitting at 72.48%. So I think the metals are still going to be fine. Oh, and by the way, Bitcoin, not doing so hot as of this past week. This past week, Bitcoin went down collectively. Now, obviously, there's some that are doing better than others, but collectively around 10%. So not a great time for the Bitcoin market. But that is what we have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Go get those deals at APMEX for this leading up to Black Friday. And let me know in the comments what you get. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, please remember to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.